sure it'll come as no surprise to you whatsoever that the real estate market is on absolute fire right now. And I'm sure you know that unless you've been hiding out or just completely unaware of what is going on. But it's been that way since the middle of last year. It's been absolutely on a tear and flying. And one of the reasons why is due to a lack of inventory, a lack of supply. Lack of supply is the biggest single thing that's holding the real estate market back from achieving even higher levels of sales right now. And you may have been one of those homeowners that a year ago, when the pandemic hit, said, "No, I'm not doing anything right now," which is completely understandable. But come full circle, and there's light at the end of the tunnel with the direction that we're moving in. So you may be starting to ask yourself that question: why should I sell my house now? Prices are going up. I'm gaining equity all the time. So why should I sell? Hi, this is Andrew at the Andrew Smith team at eXp Realty. And if you've had that question yourself, I'm first off going to preface this by saying my advice and recommendation is always, rather than trying to time a market, the right time for you to sell your home is when it's the right time for you to sell your home. When all of those circumstances line up and it makes the most sense for you. Now, saying that, if you had been considering selling, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why this spring may be the perfect time to go ahead and put your home on the market. So when you look at it, and number one is high demand from home buyers. They're out in full force, and the best time to sell anything is when demand is high. The higher demand is, the better the pricing you're going to get, and the more in control of that process that you are going to be. And that's what you're finding right now in the real estate market if you are a seller. So buyer demand, as I mentioned, is really, really strong. There's a service called Showing Time. And what Showing Time does is it's actually an appointment booking service when you're scheduling showings on homes. And they've just recently reported that buyer showings are currently 51.5% higher than they were a year ago. So there are more and more buyers in the marketplace right now than we have seen in a long time. Yes, we did see a slight, and I do mean slight, pullback as mortgage rates have ticked up and are now hovering just over 3%, but it's still ridiculously strong. Lots and lots of buyer activity. So demand right now is really high. And the more attention that your home gets from prospective buyers puts you in the best spot as a seller. So number two, as I just kind of mentioned, there's not enough homes for sale. This has been something that we've been faced with since the middle of last year. Anyone last year that thought about putting their home up for sale pulled back, right? I mean, who wants people wandering through their home in the middle of a pandemic? And the builders have been trying to ramp up, but as I mentioned in last week's video, which I'm going to link to below, new construction is actually lagging behind historical norms with regards to the number of single family homes being built. It's been lagging behind that historical norm 13 years in a row right now. So you couple that with the fact that standard homeowners have not been putting their homes up for sale, and you're into a severe inventory shortage. Nationally, inventory is 48.6% lower than it was a year ago. In the markets that I specifically work in here in Frisco and Prosper, Texas, and in Southern California, it's more than that. It's between 75 and 85% lower than the amount of homes that we saw on the market just a year ago. But that is starting to change. So even in my own neighborhood here, I have seen more new properties go up for sale in the last 3 weeks than I have seen in months, which is typically what happens as we move into spring. That's a time when we start to get really busy. So you're starting to see more listings come onto the market. And whenever you're a seller, when demand is that high and inventory is low, that's when you're able to negotiate that best deal. Most of these homes are receiving multiple offers, and they're selling for $10, $20, $30, $40,000 over list price in many cases. And that's exactly what we're seeing today. So, number three, you have a lot of leverage, right? So, I just kind of mentioned why, because demand is high and supply is low. Nationally, the National Association of Realtors is reporting that the average home put up for sale receives 3.7 offers. I can tell you that the number of offers, homes going up for sale in the markets that I work in is higher than that. And the things that we're starting to see with some of those offers are crazy. I'm seeing buyers write offers and offer to pay vacations for the sellers, a week in Mexico. I've seen a year's worth of Netflix. I've seen pizza. I've seen other type of meal delivery service. You name it. It's getting very, very creative because that's how desperate home buyers are. So again, as a seller, you definitely have a lot of leverage, which is something to take in mind. Number four, it's a great way to use your equity. I mean, home equity has really grown over the past decade because of prices going up as much as they have. In fact, according to CoreLogic, in the third quarter of 2020 alone, the average homeowner gained about $17,000 in equity, right? So that equity gives you options. When we look at equity even more than that, if you consider all of the homes in the United States, for all of the homes that have a mortgage, the average amount of equity of a homeowner currently sits at $204,000, right? That's the highest it's been. And that creates a lot of leverage. It's a forced savings account, if you like, plus the appreciation of the market. So that lets you do a lot in terms of moving forward and buying your next home, which brings me to number five. One of the reasons demand is so high is people that have been renting and one in the and possibly living in a smaller starter home, they're realizing that during the pandemic that home just didn't work. Man, the dog's life, really? I mean, look at her. Sorry, we'll get back to that now. So regards to the meeting, maybe you need a bigger doghouse. Maybe she needs a new chair. Maybe that's what she's telling me. But people are realizing that their home has become so much more than just a place where they sleep, right? It's now where a lot of us are working all the time. There's still school going on. It's a place where people are doing more entertainment. And what's happened in the past year is the definition of home has changed. So if your definition of home has changed, now could be a time to find a home that meets those needs a little bit better. Whether it's, space for a home gym, maybe it's a theater room, maybe it's a bigger backyard with a pool or an outdoor kitchen or something along those lines that you're looking for. You've got some flexibility with the amount of equity that has been built. So, again, if you have been considering selling, those are just five simple reasons why you may want to give it some thought at this point in time. But I also understand that one of the biggest questions sellers have is, I understand, I hear what you're saying, we've considered it, but with so little inventory on the market, if I go ahead and sell, where am I going to go? What am I going to be able to buy? There are ways around that. I mean, obviously, we're dealing with it every single day. You do have options. There's several options depending upon your situation, and I'd be happy to talk those through with you. Again, down below, there is a link to schedule a call directly with me. And I'd love to hear what's going on in your world and talk through those options to see if one of them makes sense for you and your future housing plans.